on this episode of the Jeff Does Vegas podcast.
I first came to Vegas like when I was 16 years old with my family and seeing some shows and things. So I've been coming to Vegas for many, many years. And I used to live in LA, so I used to drive here all the time, and I used to drive. And even when I used to come here early on, I wanted to see what else was around. I wanted to go to other places. I'm like, because I'm just like that. I like to experience what's going on. So it's so crazy how people just come and they stay on the Strip. Then they go to Fremont, and that's all they talk about. So there's so much more than that.
In Spanish, its name means the Meadows. You might know it as the entertainment capital of the world, Lost Wages, or simply Sin City. Of course, I'm talking about fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. On average, 42 million people visit Las Vegas every year, and I'm one of them. I love this city. The sights, the sounds, the shows, the people, the history. I want to share all of it with you. Taking you to the world-famous Vegas Strip and beyond. My name is Jeff, and this is the Jeff Does Vegas podcast. Hey there, and welcome to episode number 85 of the Jeff Does Vegas podcast. Before we get rolling for this episode of the show, I want to thank my guest from the last episode, Spencer Murch. Spencer has a PhD in psychology and cognitive science from the University of British Columbia, and he jumped on the podcast to talk about the psychology of slot machines, specifically the phenomenon of immersion and being zoned in or zoned out during slot play. We had an awesome conversation, and if you haven't had a chance to check it out as of yet, jump into the archives wherever you get your podcasts and check out episode number 84, Total Immersion, or head to the website at jeffdoesvegas.com. All right, here we go. On to the show. One of my favorite things about being a frequent Vegas visitor and having friends who live there has been them taking me away from the Strip and the tourist areas to go check out some of the local spots around the city. And I've been noticing more and more as of late that people have been asking about these local spots. They want to know some of the cool places around Las Vegas where the residents go to eat and hang out. And my guest for this episode of the podcast is here to help. Robert Harley is a Las Vegas local who runs a blog called Let's Get Vegasy. He does live videos on Facebook and YouTube pretty much every day showing his adventures around the city. And something he focuses quite heavily on is the food and beverage scene. So I thought it would be helpful to have him on the podcast to talk about some of those so-called hidden gems. We talked about the big three that everyone wants to know about: pizza joints, steakhouses, and dive bars, as well as a few other spots that visitors to Vegas might want to check out. Please enjoy my conversation with Robert Harley.
I grew up at a time when they used to have food critics in LA, right? And there were, and in New York, when you were a food critic, as you probably know this, at one time you can make or break a restaurant by saying the truth or what you feel about it. You can make or break a place. Now everyone is politically correct about everything, and people are, for some reason, afraid to say, if something's bad, well, let them know it's bad. If it's good, let them know it's good. Or it could be good, and you have a terrible experience there. Well, let them know about that, And that's what's missing in this whole culture, I believe. Like, I love diners, drive-ins, and dives, right? You've seen the show?
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever heard Guy Fieri said the stuff is bad? No, because everything's set up, everything's paid for. They have to say it's good. Now, you can tell someplace he really likes, he'll go like, oh my God, Flavor Town, it's unbelievable. But he never says, it's okay, whatever, take it or leave it, because they can't. So there's not one person on TV, because they're all paid. It's all, this thing is all like really a setup. It's really even those shows are somewhat a reality show. They're not going to see anything bad. The people who are on there now, there are a few guys on the internet, Dave Portnoy, who does, you've seen One Bite with the pizza, and he does Barstool Sports. He's awesome, that guy, and I just found out about him about a year ago. I didn't even know who he was. Silly me. I didn't know he was such a big-time dude. But he tells it like it is, and I think when you tell stuff like it is, that's what really matters, and people gravitate towards that. So, that's what I'm trying to do and be completely honest about what's going on. Because my background, too, I used to be in hotels. I was in hotel management. I was a restaurant manager. I bartended for a long time. So I've been around food and different food, and, and even when, like, for instance, when you're a restaurant manager or you're a hotel manager, they give you classes when you're there and learning about foods and things. So, I'm not just some Yahoo going out there saying, oh, I like this, I don't like this. I mean, I actually have substantial background, have been through some training myself, and also grew up knowing and, different things of what's good and what's not good. So that's where I am.
And that's one of the things that I've always kind of liked about watching your videos and your live streams, is that you are completely honest. I mean, I recently watched one of your videos where afterwards you guys basically, I don't want to say you tore the place apart, but you were completely honest in that the food was not great and the service wasn't awesome, and so on and so forth, as opposed to so many of the different quote unquote influencers who are out there, who you can tell are basically saying, hey, if you give me a free meal, I'll give you a positive review.
Right. And there's also places that could be good, but you go there and it happens not to be good. Now, I seriously have been, in the restaurant. I'm not anymore, but I was in the restaurant industry, manager capacity, different things, like I said. You could have a good product, and what happens with these places, and I'll give you a great example. Like, people rave about Pizza Rock. You've heard about Pizza Rock, yep. Right? The best pizza, the pizza. And the last 2 times I went there, absolutely terrible. I think COVID has something to do with it, but you're having people there, it's like, when these people are getting rated, okay, like Pizza Rock is getting rated from a magazine. The guy who owns Pizza Rock, or the chef, he's making the pizza. So you're going to have, my God, it must be the delicious thing ever. Well, when you go in to Pizza Rock, you have someone, 21 years old, 23, whatever, doesn't give a shit about it. Oh, fuck, I got to make these pizzas, not cooking them enough. Whatever it is, and they're not the same product as the one that won the championship. Is what I'm trying to say, and I think a lot of people get brainwashed.
And I'm always willing to give a place the benefit of the doubt too. As you say, if they're having a bad day, everybody has bad days. I mean, I had this experience when the last time I was in Vegas a year ago, January. As far as strip restaurants, I went to Gordon Ramsay Burger in Planet Hollywood, and I've always had excellent meals there. Over the last several years, I've been going. Great experience, great everything. This one time, everything was just kind of And as I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt and say, you know what, they were just having a bad day.
I mean, I agree with you, but then you go again, and the thing is, it's very funny, like from what I've been doing, okay? And if you're on these feeds on Facebook and they have Vegas groups, people, this is what's driving me crazy. See, part of the reason I'm doing this, I want people to, there's a great food scene in Vegas. It is amazing. I live near Chinatown. I live in a great spot in Vegas. I'm like, seriously, I'm 2 miles from the Strip. If I take Valley View 4 miles in, I'm at the new Raiders Stadium without any traffic. I mean, I'm in a great spot. And there's so many great places here in Las Vegas, and everybody who comes here, not everybody, but from what I see on these groups, they say in the middle of the Strip, and they go to these same places, and they keep referring and keep talking about the same places that are so amazing. And it's funny because the people who are locals in Vegas do not go to those places because they're not that good. And it drives me crazy, man. It's like if you're planning a trip to Vegas and you're coming from across the world, if you're taking any kind of plane to come here, okay? Splurge, man. You're on vacation. Don't come here. Ow. They mentioned this place, and it drives me crazy. This place called Ellis Island, which you probably heard of. I don't know if you've ever been there.
I've been to Ellis Island, and I like it for what it is. I like it. I go in with the right level of expectations. I go in knowing that if I'm paying $6.99 for steak and eggs, it's a $6.99 steak and eggs.
Right. And that's, you have the right attitude. Now, they have and when I first moved to Vegas, Ellis Island had a deal which was $7.99 for the regular steak, and it came with a beer. How could you beat it? But actually, the steak was really good. Okay? So, but there's people who go there and they eat the food and like, it's the best place I've ever been to. People put on, on social media groups, oh, I want to go out. It's my anniversary. Where's a good place to go for steak? Oh, Ellis Island's a place to go for steak. Really? You're going to go on your anniversary for a $10 steak? Like, I would never, okay, I'll go there by myself in a place like that or with some guy friends. I would never bring a significant, unless we were, someone, I would, if I had a wife for a long time, but I'm single, so I would never bring like, hey, let's go here. The girl would be like, are you crazy? You're bringing me to this place? You cheap.
I got to tell you, if I ever took my wife to Ellis Island for a special occasion, and this is not anything against Ellis Island, because again, we've both been there lots of times. We've been there for breakfasts and lunches. We absolutely love it. But if I ever took her there for our anniversary or Valentine's Day or something like that, she would probably leave me.
There you go.
So before we get into the whole, because I wanted to get you on to get the locals' perspective to talk about some of these hidden gem places, because I think you're right. I know from my own experience of being a frequent Vegas visitor. I mean, pre-COVID, I was 6, 7, 8 times a year down to Vegas. I got to know a lot of locals who took me to a lot of different places, which definitely put me at a huge advantage and allowed me to kind of expand my horizons. And I want my listeners to get that same experience. So that was why I wanted to get you on, was to talk about some of these so-called hidden gems in Las Vegas. Now, maybe as a local, you don't want the tourists knowing about these places.
No, we do. We want, you want people to go, see, when you come to Vegas, before I lived in Las Vegas, I first came to Vegas like when I was 16 years old with my family and seeing some shows and things. So I've been coming to Vegas for many, many years. And I used to live in LA, so I used to drive here all the time, and I used to drive. And even when I used to come here early on, I wanted to see what else was around. I wanted to go to other places. I'm like, because I'm just like that. I like to experience what's going on. So it's so crazy how people just come and they stay on the Strip. Then they go to Fremont. And that's all they talk about. So there's so much more than that, because on the Strip are tourist traps. There are some great restaurants. I mean, the hotels have there are some amazing restaurants on the Strip. But there are, expensive places, and a lot of people who come here seem like they don't want to spend, you're here for 5 days, I don't think they want to spend, $200 a meal every time, they're going out to eat, or $100 a meal, because things are pricey in the better places, but there are so many cheap, delicious places to eat. One of them is Chinatown. If you like Asian food, but this is traditional Asian food. I have my girlfriend lives in New York, and she comes out about every 6 weeks. And New York Chinese food and traditional Chinese food is different. New York, they have Cantonese style food where you come out, and I don't know if you're familiar with this, you sit down, they bring you a thing of crispy noodles, like you could eat them, and they bring you like the duck sauce, which is like sweet sauce, and some hot mustard. It's a whole different style of food. The food they serve here in Chinatown is Hong Kong style. It's a more of a bland food with a lot of weird things. They say, they have things like the chicken feet and blood sausage, and it's a little more funkier than what they serve in New York. So a place out here, which is very popular, called Ping Pong Ping, very good food. They do with dim sum. They bring over the little carts of dumplings and things. It's so much fun. And she didn't care for it at all because she's used to a certain style of the Cantonese food they serve in New York, as opposed to like more of a Hong Kong style they have over here. But there are so many great places where I'm getting at. And they actually have foodie tours here where you could check these things out. So, I mean, there's so many cultures melting over here in Las Vegas. There's some great Cuban places. And the thing is, you want to get away from the Strip sometimes, because there are tourist, when I mean tourist traps is, you're being charged over, you're being charged a lot for the food, right?
It's interesting that you bring up Chinatown because that's a spot or an area that wasn't really on my radar until a few years ago when a couple of friends took me to a place in Chinatown, and I knew it was going to be good when I walked in because I was the only Caucasian person in the place.
There's a place I go to all the time. I eat Asian food like all the time. Like my diet really consists of some type of Asian food. A lot of it, I'll eat a lot of sushi, but I go to a lot of Chinese places. I go to this place called Big Wong's, and it's a real dump. I mean, you go there to eat. It's not about, there's like zero ambiance, but the food is really good and it's run by a family. I was there the other day and the husband does the cooking and it's good stuff. It's really, really authentic and really good. Really cheap.
I absolutely love those hole in the wall kind of places. I always find that they are, the food is always great. The atmosphere is always kind of interesting. And it's that local flair, if that makes sense. Robert, I really wanted to get you on here today to talk about, some of the hidden gems in Las Vegas, and specifically, the three things that I always get asked about the most, and that is pizza joints, steakhouses, and dive bars.
Dive are my specialty. I've been to dive bars everywhere I've ever been. Seriously, I know the best dive bars everywhere. And what is a dive bar to you?
To me, I would say a dive bar is a locals haunt. The drinks are cheap and you're maybe a little bit worried for your safety. and I mean that in the nicest way possible.
Okay. So to me, a definition of a dive bar is this. It has to be around for a while. You can't open a place up new, be 5, 10 years old and say, I'm a dive bar. You can't open it up with the look like, oh, look, we look like an old place. We're a dive bar. No. You have to be around for a long time. And whatever a long time is, I would say about 20 years or so, minimum. Okay? That's not a long time. There's bars in Hollywood that have been open since the 40s and 30s and are still open, a few of them. But a dive bar to me is, and there's two types of dive bars. One, drinks are always cheap. They're always strong. You have dive bars that have become like hipster bars where, it's a cool crowd. If you like that crowd, a lot of, tatted up girls, guys with little twirly mustaches, and it's like a hipster dive bar. Then you have your dive bars where, this guy's 75 years old, drinking shot after shot, smoking cigarette after cigarette. But it's the vibe that is so cool about these places. And no one's in there looking for trouble. It's just like it's history you're soaking in. And to me, because I was in the business, and like I said, I was a bartender I used to be a bar manager for BB King's Club for like 5 years. But I cannot do what's going on in Vegas right now. It's like, and it's getting worse. It's like it's home of the $15 to $20 drink. I went over to Circa, and I hope this does not happen to downtown because this is, I see the future of downtown. I went to Circa. I went to the bar upstairs. One, the hotel is not impressive. It's really nothing. It really is. It's nothing. It's just new, okay? The bar upstairs, drinks. They had a drink menu. You go, oh, yeah, upside lounge. They make it such a big deal. You go, an elevator, all the bullshit, right? The drinks, they had drinks on the menu going up to $30 for martinis. We're not taking the 15 to 20. Now we're going up to a $30 for a freaking drink, okay? This is if this starts happening to downtown, because the appeal of downtown is it's a cheaper, more fun, a little bit grittier, dirtier, fun place. And if a Circa comes in, then the next thing you know, that hotel's out of business. A new one comes in. Then the next thing you know, that hotel's out of business. A new one comes in. Then you have a mini strip where everyone's charging $20 and $30 for a drink. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, $26 for a martini? I'm going to ask you. I'm asking the girl, waitress. I'm like, this doesn't come with a blowjob, does it? Like, really? A $26 martini?
Wow. That is nuts to me. So if people want to flat out avoid the $30 martini, what spots would you recommend in and around Vegas dive bar wise?
So, best dive bars. One of my favorite bars in Vegas, to me, the best bar, like if it closed, I would actually be sad, is the Double Down Saloon. Have you ever been to the Double Down Saloon?
I have not, but I've heard of it.
Has been open about 35 years. It is the sleaziest, raunchiest punk rock bar. See, punk rock's not popular like it was back in the day. They have live bands there. They have Anthony Bourdain was there, remember, and he's like, this is like one of the best bars I've ever been to in my life. They do a bacon martini. They do a drink called the ass juice. They have shirts that say out of my ass into your glass. Ass juice. They give it to you in a complimentary toilet that you have to buy. The sleaziest bar, the cheapest drinks. They do a happy hour there from noon to like 6 p.m. Anything you want is $4. Anything you want. Martinis, top shelf drinks. They have a photo booth machine in there. It is the coolest, badass dive bar you could ever go into. They have one in New York City as well. And if you ever heard of Frankie's Tiki Lounge, which is another dive bar, tiki bar here, they own that as well. My number one pick for dive bar is Double Down. You have to go. You come to Vegas, me and you are going.
Deal. I'm in. Do you have any other suggestions on any other dive bars that people should check out?
Another great dive bar is called Champagne's on Maryland. Have you been there?
No.
That was on Bar Rescue before. You know Bar Rescue, right, with John Taffer? And they remodeled it, and it's somewhat of like an old mob hangout. Awesome drinks. It's a vibe. It's dark in there. It's, they don't have food, and they do karaoke. Well, that's what they were doing in there before, but super cool. Like it is a great dive bar. One of the other great dive bars, I just did a video there like last week, is the Huntridge. Now, did you ever see the movie Barfly with Mickey Rourke? Huntridge is like that. I mean, it's only on Wednesdays. You have to be, they let people in under 70 on Wednesdays, okay? And the drinks start at $4. You get a $4 well drink. They fill it up like 3/4 with alcohol. It is the diviest, and it's one of those dive bars, and it's been there for since the 1960s. It's actually older than Dino's. Dino's is the oldest bar on the Strip. This is like the oldest bar in Vegas, the Huntridge, which is but it's not on the Strip, so that's what they say, the oldest bar on the Strip. You have to go. It is like but if you're not into that, then but if you're into dive bars, one of the best around. The drinks are crazy cheap. You have a bunch of people there just Everyone's there smoking. Even with COVID, they're letting people smoke all over. Awesome, man. Another great place is Atomic Liquors downtown. You know, when you get past, if you keep going down in downtown after Fremont Street, you go like a block or two down. Do you know Atomic Liquors?
Atomic Liquors is another one of those places that I've heard of, but I've never been to. It was on my list of places to go on one of my next trips. Again, whenever that happens to be.
Super cool place, and it's not really. I put it under the category of dive bar, but it's more like a hipster bar. Makes it a dive bar because it's been there since the atomic age. Stories are back in the day when they used to do the atomic testing in Vegas, and you could see people used to sit on the roof there and watch those explosions go off. You know, the atomic testing that they used to do in Nevada. It's not where a dive bar is cheap. They're not cheap. You know, it's not crazy prices for drinks, but it's not, it's not $4 a drink. You know, they're they're $10 a drink, and they have about maybe, I want to say close to 100 craft beers that they have there. And it's a really cool hipster place, but it's got that vibe, and they play really cool music. It's super dark, awesome place to check out. Also, Dino's on the Strip from 1962. They do a lot of karaoke there, and it's a real dump. You have a couple pool tables in there. I mean, it's a dive. And another place, which is the sister place of the Double Down, is Frankie's Tiki Lounge. And that's the place to go. It is it's been there for like over 25 years. And the decor is cool. It's small. A lot of celebrities go in that place. And Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top's a regular there. There's a lot of celebrities who go in that place. The drinks are, I would say, probably the strongest drinks you can get in Las Vegas, and they're only about $12. They're all handmade tiki drinks. They have a thing called the 3-rum scum. They put 160 proof alcohol in a lot of their drinks. It's dark as hell in there. Like if you go in there in the daytime, right? I mean, there's no windows in there and there's no lights in there. It's like going into a dark movie theater, you know? And when you walk out, it's like one of those things where your eyes get, shit. It is cool though, man. It's one of the best places in Las Vegas to go to is Frankie's Tiki Lounge. So those are some of my dive bar picks.
Moving on from dive bars, I wanted to talk to you about steakhouses, because I think that's something else that people always seem to ask a lot about or want to know a lot about, is where they can find a great steak. I know one of my last trips to Vegas, I was going out for my birthday for dinner. I wanted to go out for a steak dinner. I kind of looked at some of the places on the Strip like BLT Steak or Gordon Ramsay Steak or places like that, but made the decision to go with a local place. I wanted something a little different. And my wife and I actually ended up at Golden Steer, which I thought was one of the best meals I've ever had. It was a great experience for us, and we really enjoyed it.
Really? Because I don't particularly like that place.
Really?
Yeah.
See, for me, it was the steak was good. The meal was good, but I think what did it for me was the atmosphere. It was that old school Vegas. We sat in Joe DiMaggio's booth across from Frank Sinatra's booth, and you had 4 or 5 servers looking after you at any given time. I guess for me, it was the atmosphere more than the meal itself.
Okay. For me, the Golden Steer, and I haven't been there in a long time, for what you pay over there, and it just seems, it's like, it's kind of like, to me, it's like an old school experience, but not really. I don't know. I think for what you pay at the Golden Steer, you can go to much better places that have a much better atmosphere where, you feel like, wow, this is really good. It's like you can go into Golden Steer, for instance, and it almost feels, if you're not into that whole thing, I haven't been there in a while. So, because the last time I was there, I just didn't really like it, you know? So, I mean, there's a lot of things that go into, I think when you're looking at, going to a steak place, it's the ambiance, it's the food, there's a lot of things that have to come together to make it really good. Like I was at a place I do recommend very much is called Herbs and Rye. They've been on a lot of best of lists. Herbs and Rye is a small place. It's not on the Strip. It's on Sahara. And it's really kind of like a speakeasy when you go inside. It has a great vibe. I mean, it's a newer place, but it looks, when you go in there, it looks like it's been there like for many years. They have a drink menu that starts at the Prohibition era and it goes from like here. They have specialty cocktails, all, handcrafted, goes from like the 20s and 30s, 40s, 50s, all, 60s. And then they have different sections of different drinks. Amazing cocktails, all, every little mixture is on there. And the steaks are excellent, and it's a whole great experience when you go there. And they also do a happy hour on there, which is amazing, where you can get steaks at half price. And how you can tell a really good steak is if you could take a spoon and you could cut your steak with a spoon, you have a great tender steak. And the sides there, a lot of places with the sides, some of them are good and some of them aren't that good, as you probably know. But here, like their cream spinach is like the most creamy, delicious. You're like, oh my God, you can't stop eating it. They do a potato thing there that is so decadent and creamy and delicious. So that's really, I would say that's my number one best pick for steak places. Also, I love Oscar's downtown. Oscar Goldman used to be the mayor. His wife is currently the mayor. This is her last term. And it's an awesome place. It's really like a throwback in the Plaza Hotel. They do an amazing happy hour on there. They have things like steak tartare. They have a lot of the old school menu items that are really hard to find in other places. Carpaccio. They bring you a nice wedge Caesar salad, like a whole wedge style salad. It's very old school, it's very classy in there. It's really nice. It really feels like, the Plaza did a whole giant remodel a few years back to make it look more like 60s-ish. So it's really kind of updated, but still has like an old feel to it. And it's a really good place. They have top quality things. There's seafood, service is great. It's really one of my favorite places in town is Oscar's. I also like Triple George Grill, which is on Fremont. I don't know if you know that place. We did a video there a couple weeks ago for lunch though, and I had a pot roast there. Oh my God, I like never eat pot roast. I'm like, what's the best thing you have on the menu? What is the thing that brings people back? They go, the pot roast. I'm like, okay. I don't even know when I ate a pot roast, Insanely delicious. I did that with Kiki. It's on my feed over there. Great stuff. That's a great place. If you want to venture further out in Summerlin, there's a new place called Jing. It's one of my favorite places. A lot of celebrities have been going there. It almost feels like a nightclub inside. The food is, it's expensive. It's not a cheap place. Expensive place, a place, with the $25 martinis, you get a steak, it's like $55 and all the sides are $10, $15. So it's a pricey meal, but the place itself, they have booths, they have a live DJ playing, they have lights. It feels like you're in a nightclub. It really feels, and there's so much atmosphere, amazing food. And it's mainly more of an Asian theme, a lot of Asian things, but it's great steak, great lamb chops, good stuff. Another place I recommend too is, I don't know about now with COVID because it's slowed down, is Bizarre Meats by Jose Andres in the Sahara. They have some really, really interesting dishes and things you can get. And, he has a place in L.A. That's one of the top spots. It's a top spot in L.A. For some reason, it hasn't caught on as much in Las Vegas because people don't know kind of who he is, maybe, a lot of people. And it's also very pricey, but it's really a top place to go to.
And finally, Robert, something else that I wanted to hit on with you as far as hidden gems and off the beaten path kind of places. This is always a big one that people want to know about. Pizza in Las Vegas, the best places to find pizza.
Yeah, I do have some suggestions with that. The biggest problem here with pizza is it's inconsistent. It's not, like I said, I did a thing last week, Pizza Rock versus Evil Pie. Have you been to both?
I've been to Evil Pie, but I've never been to Pizza Rock.
And how was Evil Pie for you?
It was what it was. I went in there with the expectations of a cheap piece of pizza and a beer for a quick bite. I went in not expecting any kind of earth-shattering, life-changing experience.
Okay. All right. So Evil Pie is actually one of my favorite places in Vegas. And it's not that you don't go there and get the cheese pizza and the beer. You get their specialty pizzas. They have the Snake River Canyon. It's an Evel Knievel themed place. Me, I'm a giant Evel Knievel fan. But they actually has rattlesnake sausage, mixed with the pork on there. And they have a lot of specialty pies. Those are the ones you want to get. Really good, and for the most part, very consistent. Good slice. Every place else I've been to, now places that are popular are Pizza Rock. I've been there a couple of times, and it wasn't good. Inconsistent. Okay? Metro Pizza is another one that's pretty popular. And a lot of these things are sometimes hit and miss. Joe's, by where the old Hard Rock Hotel used to be, sometimes you go there, earth-shattering pizza. Other times you go there, that's the problem I'm seeing with pizza. There's another place called Naked City Pizza out here. I'm like, this is the best pizza. I'm like, because I love that pizza. I'm like, oh my God, it's so good. The crust, and they put the little pepperonis, and they get all crispy, and they're so good. And I had my girlfriend come out there, and she's from New York, and believe me, the pizza in New York blows all this pizza away. I was there, and I'm originally from New York, but I haven't been back there in like 20 years or more, right? And so when I had the pizza, it was like really earth-shattering, some of the pizza. Anyway, she came out here. She had Naked City Pizza. She's like, oh, this is terrible, And it wasn't a good day. So what I find is a lot of the pizza is inconsistent out here. I mean, there's good places, but you never know if you're going to go there, if it's going to really be right on, is what I'm saying.
What do you say to the people who absolutely lose their minds over how amazing secret pizza at the Cosmo is?
A lot of these places, the Hard Rock had a place in there that was decent, and I think a lot of things too when you come to Vegas, right? Sometimes your mindset that you're in makes things better, right? A lot of people go in there drunk. Oh my God, best pizza ever. People have gone there, they've won money, they're euphoric, they're happy, they're on vacation, they're happy. Maybe they're with a new girl and like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. They just came out of the hotel room having crazy sex. Let's go get some pizza. Oh, it's the best pizza I ever had in my life, So it's different when you're a local and you just live here day to day and you're not in these euphoric moments, I just think a lot of these places are hit and miss. Sometimes they're amazing, and sometimes, like I went to Metro Pizza. I've actually met that family before. Nice people. It's a family-run place. Italian people, super nice people, And again, I've been there before. I'm like, God, this is some of the best pizza I've ever had. Then I go, they have like 5 locations. Then I went to another location. I'm like, it's not that good. There's a place right down the street from me where a lot of locals go called Napoli. Sometimes you get pizza there. It is really, really good. And I got one recently. I threw most of it away. I'm like, God, what am I getting fat eating this? It's terrible. I pulled pepperoni and cheese and threw most of it away, So that's really how it goes. I like to tell it like it is or how I see it, but I really have gone away from pizza a lot because a lot of inconsistency out here.
Excellent stuff. This is awesome. Robert, if people want to check out your videos, check out your live streams, there's more there than just food, but that's what we're talking about here today. If people want to find you, how can they go about doing that?
Find me on Facebook. I'm Robert Harley on Facebook. And I have my own group called Let's Get Vegasy. And then there's a group called Vegas Picks and Tricks, where I'm part of that and post there regularly. I think that has 40,000 people, that group. So there's a lot of people on there.
And a YouTube channel as well, yes?
Let's Get Vegasy on YouTube. I'm putting that on. And, the goal is to keep doing videos every day. And, we see where this goes, right?
Excellent. I will post those links in the show notes for people to check out for themselves. Robert, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate you sharing your videos online. It's an excellent little window into the Las Vegas world for those of us who are stuck and can't travel and can't get to the city because of the different travel restrictions in place. So thank you for that. And thank you very much for taking the time to jump on the podcast today to share all of your recommendations for all these different Vegas hidden gems.
All right. Well, hey, it's been great. It's been great talking to you. Sorry I talked your ear off, but, that's what I do, right?
Once again, if you want to keep up with what Robert's got going on with Let's Get Vegasy and check out his latest videos, click the links in the show notes at jeffdoesvegas.com to join his Facebook group or subscribe to his YouTube channel. Trust me, you are not going to regret it. And that wraps up another episode of the podcast. If you've got feedback on this episode of the show, or any other episode for that matter, or if you've got suggestions and ideas for topics you'd like me to cover on the podcast, please feel free to reach out to me via Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at JeffDoesVegas. You can also email me directly at jeff@jeffdoesvegas.com. In the meantime, thank you so much for checking out the show. Be sure to subscribe for free wherever you get your podcasts so you'll know the moment new episodes are available. And don't forget to visit jeffdoesvegas.com for past episodes and show notes. My name is Jeff, and this has been episode number 85 of the Jeff Does Vegas podcast.